My name is George Portlock. I'm the president of Third Mutual, and I want to welcome everyone here this afternoon to celebrate the service and to commemorate the service that George Ratner has given this community. There's a tree planted that was chosen by his wife, and in front, if you get time to look, there's a plaque, and in it says, "In memory of George Ratner, a man of wisdom, integrity, and vision, by the Third Board of Directors."
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really very pleased to see you all here. I do want to take this opportunity to thank the Third Mutual Board for planting this tree in George's memory. I also want to acknowledge the help that I got from Ismail Saez and from Kurt Rahm in the selection of the tree and its location, and the invaluable assistance I got from Noel Hatch with the wording on the plaque, and of course George here, who mentored me through this whole process. I do appreciate it. So on behalf of my family, I want to say thank you to all of those people. I think you've met my daughter and son-in-law, Joanne and Barry, who came here from Toronto, and George's two sisters, Ruth and Selma, with their husbands, Paul. Well, Bob is not here today. He's ill. And even some nieces and nephews showed up, which pleases me greatly.
Yes. Special.
Those of you who knew George very well were familiar with the fact that he loved hot peppers. And although I know peppers don't grow on trees, it does seem particularly appropriate that we dedicate this California pepper tree in his memory.
How sweet.
May it give shelter to the birds, shade to all who would walk beneath its boughs, and beauty for everyone to behold. Thank you.
Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here today to say a few words at this dedication ceremony about George. George was actually the first director that I ever met when I came to work for Leisure World. And George became almost like a mentor for me. He was a person I could always call when I had questions, or I could always bounce ideas off. And he was a friend, and I miss him. But he rides around with me in my head, always reminding me of a couple of important facts. One is, he always used to say to me, do your work, Leslie, get all the facts, make it correct, and make sure that everybody knows. Don't share all the information you have. The other thing I know about George is that he really cared about this community. He loved Leisure World, and he loved the residents. And although I may not have always agreed with his approach, I never had any doubt that everything George did was because he loved the community. He was not motivated by greed or by ego. He was motivated to work here on all of the projects he worked because he loved this community. As communities continually need to reinvent themselves to meet the changing needs of their residents, but as they go through that process, it is important that they remember the bedrock values that they were founded upon. This community, Leisure World, and the city of Laguna Woods is built on George. And I hope that this tree will help us all remember that George embodied most of the values that make this a wonderful place, a wonderful community, and a wonderful city to live in. Thank you.
Well, Justine, thank you for inviting me to speak today, and I think this is a fitting selection for George. It's a tree that has a lot of longevity in California. You'll see some that are approaching 100 years old. I didn't know that it was the California pepper. And of course, having sparred with George over the years, the pepper is fitting. And you know, as George said, even though it's been a few months now since George's passing, it still stings to recollect him, but it's a little easier today. You know, working with this community as staff, I always tease that in spite of yourselves, we end up loving you guys, and it really is hard to, you know, when someone like George passes, even though, as I said, we had our ups and downs over the years, you couldn't help but be endeared with George. The fact is that, as Leslie said, who knew George very well, George was one who absolutely loved this community. Being the passionate and intelligent guy that he was, he always brought to the table in the crucible of these, leadership roles, his opinion passionately and very articulately. But the thing that George always strived for and that I so respect and admire was that just as he was passionate over his points, he was also passionate over the process. And he brought to the table a sense of decorum and professionalism and care for others who didn't share his opinion. And he always let you know that. He was always the referee in the sense that if things started going out of bounds, he would call time and say, guys, we need to regather and remember who we are and who we're serving here. So that legacy is something I see carried in this community among its current leadership, and third especially. These guys get together at their board meetings, they exchange ideas, the sparks fly, the iron sharpens the iron, and they walk away friends. And clearly that's something that I so respect and admire of George. And I know that his board and his successors feel a sense of accountability and responsibility because of the fact that George modeled that in his behavior. And remember, that was at a time when this community was really, really at odds a few years ago. A lot of rancor, a lot of changes that were being challenged in the community. George set the table for even-handedness and, as I said, just professional, articulate debate. So Justine, thank you, and George, God bless you.
It's a privilege for me to speak about George. I'm going to sum up in a few words what everybody else has said. I could say ditto on everything that's been said, but I'd like to sum it up. His dedication and leadership to the community as the president of the Third Mutual should be a guide to all the boards of Leisure World. George inspired us with his confidence and determination to perform all of his duties while he was ill. He always went forward with what he believed in confidence and determination. He gained the respect of all the board members of the community. He was taken from us too soon. We all miss him. But George was an enigma because he and I agreed on many things, but we agreed to disagree on many things. But we respected each other, and I think that's the whole essence of Leisure World. We have differences. We have to respect each other's differences and go forward. And that leadership certainly will hold true that he gave us throughout. So Justine, this is a wonderful remembrance. I'm sure people in the future, when they come into Leisure World and they see this plaque, they'll say, gee, we really never knew him, but he must have been a great guy, and he was. Thank you.
I will try to express the words of those members of United who knew George and what he did and how he did things. It's true, as Milt Johns has stated and as the president of Little Lorraine has stated, he and I always did not see eye to eye, but there was mutual respect between us. I will speak for those members of United that have shown in the past the stability of United. I cannot state the same for what is current. But Justine, my best wishes to you and my highest regard for George. I'm sure all these words that we have said today will be there at any time that George wants to toss them back in our faces. But again, as a single ex-board member of United, I want to speak on the behalf of those United board members in the past that put the bricks in place for the time that United was a better place.
Just a few words, just to ditto as everybody else says about George. I was probably one of the last directors to see him before he passed on. And he gave me some good counsel because he knew I was going to be the next president. And he left a legacy for all presidents in the future to go forward with a fairness to the people, to look at the things and be what is the right thing to do, not necessarily what the rule says. And so I try to follow that, and I really like this plaque that we have that has been put there. So as we drive by, all of us, as we drive through here sometimes, and we look at this pepper tree and remember of George, and remember what kind of a man he was, so that we too can gain the same type of attitude and work towards the people as he did.